And then Roland said that awkward feeling of being the new guy at a hobby shop, unfamiliar with everybody's play style. Yeah,
Fair.
that's true.
I know that vibe.
Awkward's my middle name, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel very comfortable being awkward. Like I'm always very socially awkward wherever I go, so I'm used to it by now.
So do you feel awkward when you fit in, Harry?
Yeah, actually, I'm like some shoe must be dropping at some point.
Something's not right.
Yeah, right.
It's like
my spidey sense goes off. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Mark, I had a question. I mean, you have so many different. You wear many different hats. Board game designer. You did that at one point. I think didn't you create miniatures too with your friend? You do unboxing and things. So, what title would you call yourself? Like, what would you say you are?
When people ask me what I do for a living, I tell them I'm a video game designer because that's what I've done the most. So I've worked in the video game industry for 24 years.
Oh, no kidding.
And I was a creative director. I was an art director, but you can't really tell people you're a creative director when there's no team that you're currently directing. Because I left the studio, so I'm doing freelance stuff now. So for the last 2 years, I've been like a freelance video game designer. So that's what I tell them, because it's easier than telling them, oh, I design video games, but when in a studio, I'm usually like the creative director, or on my spare time, I have a YouTube channel where I do this and this video, and then any spare time I have between that, I write a comic book that I'm running on Kickstarter. So it's just because it's a lot of those don't seem like, at least in my circles of my adults that I grew up with, they don't look at many of those like real jobs. Like, what do you do? Write comic books? Okay, what do you really do? Even if I say design video games, they're like, they're like, right? So not a doctor, architect, or construction worker, real jobs.
Yeah. I don't know. I find it cool that you worked in video games personally.
It is cool.
Yeah.
But like my family's all like old school Europeans. Like they don't mind it.
Mine too.
Yeah. So they just don't get what I do. I don't even know how to explain it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my parents are the same. Like, oh, there's Keith making his little funny bucks.
The
like
funny
it's like
books
that
again.
Right?
So you know what though? So actually, can I just tell a real quick story about that? Wanted to share.
Absolutely.
So after the last convention season, right? And my family's the same way. They're very blue collar. The idea of making money from comics just doesn't make sense to them, right? And I understand that to an extent, unless you're really hitting it hard and doing it professionally. For doing it as a side hobby, it's not really something you can live on very well. Anyways, all that aside, after the last convention season, it was pretty good. I had a really good SDCC. I had a really good Terrificon. It was my dad's birthday, so we had like a little surprise party thing at a steakhouse for him. Very expensive bill. And when it came time to pay that, it was on me. And I was so happy that I was able to use convention earnings to pay for that. And and when I paid for it, I just want everybody at this table to know that comic books paid for this.
That's great.
And that was the best part of it. I was like the tiramisu. That was the dessert of the whole thing, was letting everybody know that comic books did this. A bunch of blue collar, a mechanic at one end, a construction worker at the other, an electrician at the other end, and all of them blue collar guys. And they heard me say, comics bought this exquisite dinner you just had.
That's awesome, dude. I love stories like that. So that's great. Thanks for sharing.
Well, it's kind of how I felt too, because when I went to Greece, to visit my family there, everybody there, and my family lives in the south near Athens, kind of. They're all like firefighters. They work in coal mines. They're farmers, So when I shook their hands, they're like, I'd be shaking like very calloused, strong hands, and like I have like these little dainty, soft hands, like, Harry, what do you do for work? I'm like, I'm a graphic designer, and I do this with my mouse, and I push some buttons, I was like almost embarrassed to tell them, what I do, but like, whatever. I mean, whatever works.
Yeah, right.
You asked for it, so we delivered. The Mighty Mascots is now in demand on Indiegogo. Get your mascots today.
There were comic adventures, crowdfunders galore, stories that left us laughing and in tears. The indie scene's alive, we couldn't ask for more, and we had another awesome year. With every creator who showed us something new, we heard their voices so clear, laughing and joking, the time just flew, meeting friends who are far and who are near. And now we look ahead to what's next to be. We'll keep turning pages, won't slow it down. More stories to tell, more pictures to see, as the indie comics world spins round. Here's to the year that we lived through, in the world of indie comics, so fresh, so new. The writers and artists, their stories we shared, a toast to the moments, no laughter was spared. So here's to the comics, so wild and free. A happy new year from Keith, Johnny, and Harry. With our hearts open wide, we cheer and say Happy New Year from Indie Comics Relay.